The Nazi bell, or in German, the Die Glocke, was a purported top-secret Nazi scientific technological device, secret weapon, or Wunderwaffe, in Germany. Current-day hindsight has led many researchers to conclude that a space-going, UFO-like saucer craft could well have been developed by the Third Reich. Mounting evidence seems to confirm that Nazi-era Germans developed sophisticated technologies that in some arenas current society is only recently catching up to. Polish writer Igor Witkowski first publicized the Bell project in his book, The Truth About the Wunderwaffe, where he claims to have discovered the existence of the Bell project after seeing transcripts of a KGB interrogation of SS General Jacob Sporenberg. It goes without saying that Schutzstaffel, SS, was a major paramilitary organization under Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party in Nazi Germany, which conducted many secret experiments and projects during its time. Sporenberg is said to have given detailed information about a bell-shaped device filled with a substance similar to mercury, which utilized huge amounts of electrical power. The bell was said to be a hazardous anti-gravity experiment, which caused illness and death in research subjects as well as in researchers. An ancient Hindu manuscript called Samarangana Sutradhara, an 11th century poetic treatise on classical Indian architecture written in Sanskrit language attributed to Paramara king Bhoja of Dar, describes a machine very similar to the Nazi bell. Samarangana Sutradhara. Another famous Hindu epic poem, the Mahabharata, dating back to 4000 BC, tells of fantastic flying machines or vimanas used by the gods. These vimanas were shaped like a sphere and borne along at great speed on a mighty wind generated by mercury. These extremely sophisticated vehicles were described with great detail, which implies that they were witnessed by the scribes of ancient India and documented so that other people can understand. A hefty portion of the Nazi dogma of racial purity and the concept of a noble Aryan race is largely derived from ancient Hinduism. The Aryans, they venerated and claimed descent from, are thought to have invaded India eons ago from Central Asia and established a rigid social structure which has evolved into the infamous caste system. Myths and legends of ancient India had a tremendous impact on world history and societies, in particular Germany of the 1940s. The Nazis, under the guidance of Heinrich Himmler, led multiple expeditions into India and Tibet with the intent of studying Vedic Hindu legends and artifacts and to trace their noble Aryan ancestry. One of the more notable of these was the Schaefer expedition, which many writers have theorized had a sinister hidden agenda. Other Nazi expeditions were known to have been conducted in 1931, 1932, 1934, 1936, and 1939 respectively. It is theorized that during one or more of these expeditions that the SS obtained information that contributed to building Die Glocke, the Nazi bell. Before their deaths, the scientists who conducted the bell experiments reportedly suffered from various ailments such as nerve spasms, loss of balance, and a metallic taste in the mouth. During various experiments, dozens of plant and animal test subjects were also killed by radiation exposure. So what exactly was the purpose of the bell? According to Sporenberg's testimony, Die Glocke was associated with magnetic field separation and vortex compression. Witkowski asserts that these physical principles had become commonly associated with anti-gravity research. According to some physicists, if you have a device that can generate a torsion field of extremely high intensity, it is theoretically possible to bend space around the device. Consequently, by bending space, you also bend time. Could it be possible that the Nazis were utilizing the bell to conduct scientific experiments in time travel? Interestingly enough, it is essential to note that the project was codenamed Chronos, which means time. Witkowski also claimed that an industrial complex located near the Wenceslas mine became one of the primary testing sites for Die Glocke. The ruins of a mysterious concrete framework known as the Henge stand there today, and many have speculated that the Henge was designed to be a type suspension rig for use when testing the propulsion capabilities of the bell. Skeptics have dismissed this theory, claiming that the Henge is nothing more than the remains of an industrial cooling tower. The fate of Die Glocke has been the subject of much speculation. When the German upper echelon realized that the war was unwinnable, key leaders and scientists began to evaporate, leaving Germany and disappearing from public view. Hypothetically, these Nazi secret science projects were dismantled and allegedly shuffled off to points unknown. South America and Antarctica rank high as locales of interest. In 1945, the Bell was removed from its underground bunker under the command of, and accompanied by SS General Dr. Hans Kammler, who was also in charge of the V-2 missile program. Aboard a massive long-range German aircraft, the very first aircraft ever equipped for mid-air refueling and the only one large enough to carry the Bell. It was never to be seen or heard from again. Speculation is that it ended up in South America. In his book, The Truth About the Wunderwaffe, Witkowski claims that more than 60 scientists associated with the project were assassinated by the SS before the Bell was transported. Cook believes SS General Hans Kammler made a deal with the US military in exchange for the technology. In 1991, Vladimir Terziski, a Bulgarian immigrant, claims to have come into possession of a Nazi documentary describing some of their special weapons programs. Of particular interest is the secret V-7 projects, which were allegedly a series of circular craft which could rise and descend vertically and fly at extreme velocity and altitudes. In 1952 and 1953, George Adamski, the man who is famous for his claims that he had continuous contact with UFOs, that their occupants were from Venus, allegedly photographed very similar bell-shaped flying objects. Though, the bulk of the Adamski story is bizarre, and had it not been for the similarities to the German projects, of which of course Adamski could have not had knowledge. So is there any connection between the UFO photographed by Adamski and the Nazi Bell? Many theorists believe that a craft that crashed in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, in 1965 was either the Die Glocke or a US government attempt at replicating what the Germans had done 20 years earlier. Whatever the particulars of variant conspiracy theories are, the object that crash-landed certainly does bear a striking resemblance to what the Nazi government had built 20 years earlier. Decades later, in 2008, another craft of similar description crash-landed in Needles, California. Thanks for watching. If you liked this material, please share and subscribe. Copyright 2022 by EuSlayer International. All rights reserved.